So welcome everyone to the warm-up roundtable for ApacheCon Asian 2022. This is Monica. I'm an investor at Matrix Partner China and previously worked at the global go-to-market team at AWS. It's really my pleasure to host this roundtable because when we talk about work orchestration, it's probably one of the hottest topics in the world of big data. And we have two amazing panelists here. I will give a very short introduction of each of them, and I will let them share more about themselves. So first is Jarek Potiuk. I hope I pronounced it correctly. Jarek is an Apache Foundation member, and he's also the PMC of Apache Airflow. William is also an Apache Foundation member, and he's also working on a couple of very popular Apache projects, including Apache DolphinScheduler, and also a founder of ClickHouse Chinese community. Before we kickstart this roundtable, I have tons of very interesting questions. I would love each of you to share a little bit more about yourself, how you got into the world of big data or work orchestration, and also one fun fact as our icebreaker. What do you look forward the most about this ApacheCon? Okay. Jarek, would you like to kickstart?
I'm as Monica mentioned, I'm independent. I'm independent open source contributor. And this is like a very cool position to be at. I really love to work on open source and Apache Software Foundation and on Apache Airflow. Like William, when he invited me to the talk before, mentioned that like it's visible that I love the project, and it is. I do, and especially I love the community around that. And this is the super important, the most important part of what is so great. In the project and what makes the data orchestration, which is the main subject of their like really thriving, and the community around Apache Airflow especially that I know is making this whole hot area even hotter and nicer, and develops something really cool. Like there are some really great things coming, which I know of, and like you can see that with the ApacheCon and in Asia, especially. What I'm looking forward is really to learn more about all the different aspects of the community, especially, and work in different parts of the world. There is also ApacheCon in North America in October. Now is the Asia one. And I'm actually looking forward. I hope to be involved in the preparation of ApacheCon Europe in next year. So seeing what's going on, it's really for me great to see how the community evolves and how we can do that in Europe. Maybe next year. Let's see.
Yeah, I definitely look forward to it too, and hope we can be there in person.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
William, how about you?
I also look forward for about ApacheCon Asia, because I think there's many new scenario in China, in India, in Japan. So we can see the many new projects and a new scenario who users can use Airflow, DolphinScheduler, cTunnel, or other data processing projects. So I'd love to introduce as the track chair. I'd love to introduce all the new scenario to the users all over the world. So I'm looking forward about the whole conference. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. William, would you also share with the audience a little bit more about yourself? Like what are you currently working on?
Myself, okay. So I'm William, and I work in the data area about 20 years. About the first company is Teradata, and also I love open source, and work for open source community for many years, like ClickHouse, Apache DolphinScheduler, Apache cTunnel, and Presto, and Apache Berry. So I just organize a lot of communities. So about Dolphin Scheduler, I think it's a virtualization data orchestration tools for everyone, not only for data engineer, but also for data analyst and data scientist, and even some product manager or operation manager who cannot just type the code, but they know SQL. So everyone can use Dolphin Scheduler very easy to do the data orchestration. So this is about the whole project. Thank you.
Sounds great. Thanks, thanks two of you for sharing with us like what makes you excited about the Apache ApacheCon. So let's kickstart from the first question. I think the first question is actually a little bit spicy. We know that when we talk about like open source community, because Matrix Partner China have also started investing in open source for many years, actually, since like probably six years ago. And I myself have also been in Silicon Valley for more than 6 years and witnessed like how people's attitude towards open source, especially as a commercial, especially for commercial work, changed a lot. Like first, we don't believe that open source can be any kind of can make a big commercial project, and then everyone's thinking like, hey, if you want to build an infra company, you have to be open source. And lately, there's been discussion about, do we really have to be? How is it different from a SaaS, right? From a SaaS company? So from specifically the orchestration engines perspective, because Dolphin Scheduler, Airflow, as well as many other emerging orchestration engines, I think the majority of them choose to run under open source governance. I would love to hear both of you. Why do you think the open source governance is important for the orchestration engines? I mean, probably compared to all the other layers, all the other components in the entire data stack. Jarek, would you like to start?
Okay, yeah, I can start. This is a topic which I'm maybe not researching, but I'm looking at very closely for quite some time. And I strongly believe the big benefit of open governance and the kind of open governance that is in Apache Software Foundation, when there is no single entity controlling the project, is extremely important for commercial users. So this evolution that you mentioned, Monica, that's really what happened and what I observed. I didn't believe in open source myself like 10 years ago, but now it's the kind of backbone of everything. Like the whole cloud is built on open source, and all the big players and commercial users, they are using open source all over the places. And one of the decision making like criteria, the important one, is like, I don't want to be vendor locked in. So vendor lock-in is very important for many of commercial users for multiple reasons. And there are lots of examples in the past when vendor locking hit back someone. And Apache Software Foundation and Airflow and DolphinScheduler, they provide this open governance that first of all makes it clear, and you can absolutely rely on that you can do whatever you want with the software. This is the basis of Apache Software Foundation. Like we don't limit you in any way. And there were like lots of discussions even in members list, when we wanted to introduce something that would limit the users. Then we said no, like Apache Software Foundation, no, we cannot do that. We just give the users whatever they want, and they can do whatever they want with the software. And that's perfect. And there is the strong, like really strong entity like Apache Software Foundation, which is non-profit. And the whole thing that they do, they make the software available for others. This is the only thing that the Apache Software Foundation does. It doesn't make any profit on that, doesn't use it for anything else, just make the software available. And that will not change. And this is like why it's important, and why it's orchestration engines, because orchestration in engine by its nature, it talks to many different things, like coming from the many different ecosystems. Like there are big ones like cloud ecosystems or dbt or Snowflake or whatever. And it will never be a single ecosystem. So you have to have something neutral, something which is across all of that, will not favor any of those and will be able to manage the orchestration across the platform. This is across all the platforms. That's why I think it's super important to have an open governance, and especially the kind of open governance which is neutral, where the entity controlling it is non-profit and it doesn't have any other criteria or any other goals, like being sold or earning money or whatever. It's just making software available.
Yeah.
William, what's your thought on this?
Yeah, I totally agree, Jarek. Actually, Apache Foundation give us an opportunity to use software, and not only for individual users, but also for commercial users. So anyone who want to use the software can use it almost freely. What you need is only to obey the Apache license. And if you want to do some commercial version based on Apache software, it's free to go. So that's why I think open source governance is very important to orchestration engines, because just like Eric said, orchestration engines must have a very large ecosystem, like a cloud system, like a Spark, like many data stack engines. So I think Apache Foundation gave us an opportunity that you can evolve all of it in one orchestration project, not only Airflow, but also DolphinScheduler. So I think one rule for Apache PMCs is that the PMC cannot come from only one company, but they must come from many companies. So that there will not be a single company who control the whole things. So just like some company, if the open source project is not belong to Apache's software foundation, perhaps the company will control the version by some business rules or business requirements. But in Apache Software Foundation, you cannot control that. So I think it's more important for orchestration engines to be in the Apache way. And thus, the orchestration engines can grow more bigger and bigger. So I think that's why it's very important to us. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, we have a couple. We would like to discuss this. Because work orchestration is such a complex and such a big topic. I think I would like to first start with a couple of higher level questions about how it stands and where it stands in the entire what we call like modern data stack, and then we can drag into some more details about the what makes a good work orchestration engines. Firstly, again, like modern data stack, it's definitely an emerging buzzword in the past several years. I'm wondering, for two of you who have been in this space, the big data space for decades, right? How do you see the role of data orchestration platform in the entire modern stack? And specifically, how do you see it evolve over time in the past several years? Any significant changes that you have observed that you would like to share? Maybe we can switch the order this time. William, would you like to start?
Yeah. I just noticed a very interesting discussion in Twitter about 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, that someone said orchestration will be unbundling in the future, and not only neither Airflow or DolphinScheduler. It's a very interesting idea, because someone said because there is dbt, there is Airbyte, and there is many new SaaS, and they can connect them together. And there is need for any orchestration tools in the future. It's very interesting idea. And actually, I agree the idea of Dexter CEO. I think it's Neil Jarek, and his idea is just there is many new data stack SaaS tools like dbt, Fivetran, Airbyte, and other things. But every SaaS can only own the process themselves. For example, DBT can own the process from the input, the SQL, and then you upload it to the data warehouse or organize all the ops, the data ops in the data warehouse. But the whole data process is very long, and then not only for data warehouse, but also for machine learning and BI and other tools. So there must be some third party or third projects to support all the process. So I saw there are many new words or new ideas about the data stacks like data fabric, data mesh, and a lot of new ideas. But I think orchestration will be the part that is required by any of the new stacks. So that's my idea, and I think no matter you have any SaaS, you must have a third party project to orchestrate all of them. So that's why I think it's very important for the data orchestration platform in modern data stack.
I definitely remember that discussion about the unbundling, and I have to say, like, just trying to understand what all those like emerging like buzzwords are it's really confusing. Like data fabric, data mesh, they all sound so similar. Like Jarek, I was wondering, like, what's your thought on that?
I'm not sure if that that roundtable will be that interesting for the watchers, because we agree on almost everything. It looks like that's strange, but yeah, the unbundling discussion was interesting. Was also I think it's very much what William said, but I can tell it from a different perspective. I'm a choirist. I sang in a choir for 30 years. And I'm very much into like small choirs and big choirs and orchestras and music. So for me, Airflow and DolphinScheduler has the same approach. It's more like a conductor of an orchestra. Yeah. So you can become a really good like violin player or good like bass player or whatever. But the bigger orchestra it doesn't matter. Like it matters. It's important to have like great tools like DBT or Snowflake or whatever, getting better in what they do. They are just, fantastic things to do stuff, but they cannot play alone. Like they can, but the music is kind of poor if they do. Then if you have a huge orchestra, you need someone who will tell the orchestra what to do and when to pass stuff from one player to another, because otherwise it's just mess and chaos. And this is basically what Airflow and DolphinScheduler and all the orchestrations which are external, they do. They just provide all the music instruments and musicians the way how to play together and make the beautiful music, which is like in order, and this is just delivering the like fantastic experience. And you need someone like that. I know that. It looks like there are some jokes like like when there is a conductor, what the conductor does, it just comes, waves the stick, turns back and bows at the end. And that's pretty much what we do. But it's so much needed. It's so absolutely needed to make the orchestra play very well. And I think it's going to stay. It's going to even grow. So the role of there is an evolution, of course. And I think one of the biggest evolution which comes, and this is something that is changing right now, and we see that in the Airflow community as well. So the biggest part of what is changing is like making the orchestration more data aware, not only task aware. So to know not only what is going on, but what data is being used and how it is being passed. So all the discussions about data lineage and especially data lineage are so important, and data-driven scheduling. So this is something that is coming, for example, in Airflow in 2.4. We are like very, very advanced in making data-driven scheduling works. And that's one of the changes, but it doesn't change the basics. The basic is like Airflow and any kind of orchestration has to know about everything that's happened there. all the different particular, instances of services or musicians. It has to be aware of all of that and has to be able to figure out what to do with that and make it work together.
I love I love how you think about it. And especially, actually, this is probably a little bit off grid. I just wanted to follow up but I was wondering, yes, like we probably still need a third party tool to orchestrate all of the things. But under a new norm, that like every component is trying to do something from their perspective. Then what's needed? What's a new requirement for this for work orchestration in this new era? Do you have to think about it? Like how do you think about it differently than what you did in the past?
I can
Jarek? Jarek first.
So I think what is we are coming here to more like the thriving ecosystem. I think, because what we really need, and this is something that I also observe, like when orchestration engines like Airflow, for example, I don't know much about the Dolphin scheduler in China, because this is where Dolphin scheduler is most used. But in Airflow's world, as we know, there are more and more parties that want to be part of the ecosystem. And this means, for example, in our case, that when we go to this data-driven scheduling and data lineage, we built the ecosystem for years in the way that we make it possible and easy for all the other players in the game to adapt and provide the information that we need, for example, in order to make this data lineage works. So like we can provide a framework, a foundation, like a platform for that. But the small changes that we require, and they are really small, is like just to expose using our like open APIs that we develop in the community. Open lineage is one of those, for example, which we work very closely with in Airflow, just to provide the metadata, the information, like what's going on with the data. Mm-hmm. And we can use the information, we can put it together, we can bring it together with the lineage, with we know who is processing what and when, and expose that. And I think the next step will be like a great way of using this information, because right now it's like, okay, we will be able to expose it. Now you have to do something with that. And this is I think the biggest change from everyone in the ecosystem. None of the orchestrators will be able to do that for everyone. Like we have like hundreds of integrations that we work with. We are not able to get this data lineage information on our own. We have to rely on the ecosystem to provide it to those orchestration engines that are really important. And this is something that I see. I kind of like we want to make the ecosystem, all the people aware that they have to provide a little bit of their effort and input from their side to adapt in order to reap the benefits later from this data lineage. This is what I see that should change right now, or is changing already. I see.
Yeah, definitely, like much more opener, and especially under this like much more complex ecosystem. What's your thought on this, especially given that you are running this in China? I'm wondering whether the ecosystem is a little bit different from what Jarek is saying and the other perspective.
I see there are several, I think, new scenario for orchestration tools. One is that orchestration not only to orchestrate the jobs, but also you can orchestrate the resource of each job. So just like a Dolphin scheduler, for example, it can help Kubernetes to control how many CPU for the Spark jobs. And I think that's some new scenario. So Dolphin Scheduler can work very closely with Kubernetes. That the Dolphin Scheduler have, for example, Dolphin Scheduler has its own Kubernetes operators or other things that they can combine to use the Kubernetes much better than before. That's one scenario. And the other I saw there will be a much more new scenario in machine learning, where we call it ML ops. But I think Dolphin Scheduler or Airflow cannot be ML ops tools. But I think Dolphin Scheduler or Airflow can do some machine learning orchestration, which, for example, there's many users who use I think SageMaker in AWS, but SageMaker can control the whole MLOps very well, but it cannot connect the process from data preparation to the SageMaker to the MLOps to the data model verification and to make the whole process very easily. So I think as orchestration tools, there will be some need for that kind of machine learning, AI learning to control all the ops. So I think there's the second scenario that I just met. And the third one, I saw that many more users, not only data engineer, but also data analyst, product manager, and operation manager, who can know SQL very well, and they just want to have the jobs run every day or every hour or prepare for their machine learning algorithm, and they are not very familiar with Python or other code. So I see there's many new requirements from codeless orchestration. So that's Dolphin Scheduler want to be codeless orchestration tools for anyone who are interested in the data processing. So I think I saw some new scenarios both in China and in Asia. So
yeah, Jarek, have you seen similar trends? Yes. Like ML ops and demand for resources orchestration and like codeless orchestration? Is that what you have seen in the Airflow community?
Yes, again, we are agreeing a lot. so yes, I see the same very much, and I would agree with William that all the accounts actually. So I also don't see the general orchestration engines going into the MLOps because they are too much resource constrained and too much resource bound. Let's say they have to run in a very efficient way locally. Let's say using the GPUs and making sure that it's kind of very closely tied, and it has a little bit different. Even usage scenario or the kind of patterns than the orchestration where you talk to multiple services. By nature, you talk to over the network. When MLOps is mostly something that you work on on like kind of small or closed environment, and that's why like Kubeflow and few other solutions are much better than that than Airflow. But again, as same as William. Just connecting to that and orchestrating those workflows to make them part of the bigger workflow. This is exactly what Airflow, Dolphin Scheduler should focus on. And that's what we do. For example, like you mentioned SageMaker. I just merged literally an hour ago, the first founding big change for SageMaker integration contributed from AWS team. Yeah. And there are 2 more coming, and we will release them in a month. In the next provider release. And this is again coming back to the ecosystem, like opening up for the wider community to contribute a lot more integration, much closer integration with those kind of Kubeflows, the SageMakers and MLOps. It's important. And also very closely to what William said, like we also see the need for like individual users or small teams to be able to use orchestration engines on their own. And And we are also we actually started discussion last month about that in Airflow community in the dev list, and we split the users into like 3 groups, like individuals, small team users, the big corporates, and the service providers which provide Airflow as a service. And we also think about like addressing those 3 groups pretty much in parallel, separately, even with different kind of marketing or different approach and easier way to run stuff locally without having all the installation, which is complex. And so that's definitely both trends I definitely agree with, and this is something that is happening already.
Yeah, definitely. Interesting. When I was at AWS, I actually worked very closely with the SageMaker team, because I was at a AI machine learning group. So I've got a chance to talk to many potential customers of SageMaker, and really like the most feedback I got from them is that they, like, I think people, because the machine learning is still very new, right? We are still seeing a lot of new use cases emerging. So like this really very comprehensive MLOps platform that can fit all the needs. So what we see is like they may like some modular solutions from inside like SageMaker, but I see the majority of them will mention that they are using Airflow to connect all the different components that they are DIYing by themselves. And so it's interesting to hear you say that that people are using Airflow for some machine learning jobs, and they will be like workflow inside workflows. We will see like what the next generation workflow engines will look like. It's really exciting to see where it goes. So let's move on to some more specific questions about the data orchestration. Let's start from some 101 question. What do you think are the most important features of a great data orchestration platform? Like especially under the changing era that we have been talking about. Jarek, are you ready?
It's I think the data lineage as an orchestration feature is definitely the most important. I mentioned that before. I wouldn't go too much about that, but this is something that is badly missing right now, and think that a lot of people are developing that on their own in their own companies based on some data they are scraping on their own, and that takes a lot of time of people and effort in the company. So providing a solution that will make it easy to get the data and the lineage and track the data, this is something that will not on its own, it doesn't have a value on its own, but if you make it easy, more people will use it, more people will have it, and they will start building on their own. And then later also, like maybe orchestration engines will support that, but they will start building, making use of the data, which is now a big blocker for organizations which are separated into multiple departments, where the data comes from different places. Everyone has their own view on the data. You have to join it together, and you'll be able to make decisions on the whole organization level without the data lineage, where the data come from, what's the quality of the data is important. Then the second part, of course, which is kind of connected, the data quality checks. This is not part of the orchestration engines itself, but the data lineage will allow any external ecosystem solutions to manage that in a much better way, much more let's say useful, not only limited to quality of if this particular data set is good. This is not enough. We know that this particular data set has some problems, but if we can track down where it came from, going through all the processing, this is something that is going to be really useful. That's why data lineage is the most important, I think, right now. Yeah, that's
right. William, what do you think?
So I think first important feature for data orchestration platform is stability. Because the data orchestration platform must be very stable. because if it fails, then everything fails. So I think stability will be the first feature that orchestration platform must have. And the second, I think, is just like Eric said, easy to use. And because many users can want to use data orchestration, that's their daily job. So whether it's easy or not easy to use, that will improve the efficiency of their work. So easy to use is very important. And the third one, I think, just like Airflow and the DolphinScheduler, the third one is ecosystem, and whether you can support the data tools or data stack tools in the orchestration platform is very important, or you cannot use them very easily. And I think there's another feature which I think is important, that is to whether the orchestration platform can let more people to use. My idea is just like a democratize the capability of the data. So my ideal is that can let everyone can use the data in the future, not only the data engineer, but everyone. The data scientist, the lawyer, the product manager, or your dentist or doctor, anyone who want to use data, they can process the data very easily. so that's I think the important feature for the data orchestration platform. Yeah.
Maybe I'll just chime in, because that might be the first thing we don't fully agree on. So it might be interesting for the users, for the listeners. Maybe we think the same, but my view on the democratizing of the workflow engine is like, the workflow engine is very similarly as in old days continuous integration systems, because they fit very similar role. Like continuous integration builds the software, where the data orchestration is builds the data, let's say, or orchestrates the data builds. And for me, and I'm a long time creator of CI systems, and I'm the creator of CI system for Airflow. And I even started CI when the CI term was not even coined 20 years ago. So for me, the best CI system is one that you don't see, that is invisible. And the same with data orchestration. You shouldn't see Airflow. Like most of the people shouldn't see the Airflow. It should just work. You really need a few people who should manage it and manage orchestration engine and enable others. And all the users of it, maybe they can provide some data, like write a code in CI or write pipelines, but they shouldn't be aware of the thing that is running behind. It just magically should work. And that makes that's a little bit counterintuitive, because that makes the popularity of orchestration engine should go down rather than up. In general, in the sheer number of users who are daily using the UI and accessing the orchestration engine, it will go up in terms of the usage. Like it will be used everywhere, but 99% of people will not see it. And this is my dream, actually, like that this will happen with orchestration engines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we have different dreams, and I work as not only an engineer, but also I work as a CTO and a general manager of many companies. So I think there's many requirements for big data department. For example, I used to work at Wanda as a general manager of big data, and then so many data reports requirements flush into my department. And actually, I think the business department, they have the people, the data analysts who knew SQL very well, but they cannot run the job because we have the Hadoop we have the. So I think that's why I want them can use the data very easily.
Absolutely.
And then can free our data engineer to do something that does engineering about the whole things. Yeah. So
I think we agree here.
Yeah.
I think we agree here. It's like for me, it's more like the user who is actually wanting something to happen should be just very little aware of what's behind. So yes, I do agree. If you know SQL and you want to write an SQL job, you just should be able to submit your job, and it should be part of the processing engine. But you shouldn't know much about that. And yes, very much so, very much so. It's more like the engines should become like the well-oiled machine that runs it, the orchestration engines. Yeah. But then the details of that should be very, very much hidden from from those who will be using it. So they will not even be aware that they are using Airflow or DolphinScheduler eventually. Yeah. This is my dream, that my users don't know they are using Airflow, but they are reaping the benefit of it. Like, this is something that I would love to.
Yeah. I have to follow on that, because Jarek, you have seen like all kinds of organizations, like how they use Airflow differently. I'm wondering, like, in order to reach your dream, in which people, and especially business unit, right, don't even have to know like that the work orchestration exists. But we all know that in the world, especially in US and in Europe, where business unit people actually have like much heavy use of data. In order to reach your dream, like, what do you think the Airflow or the workflow engines need to do? Is it more of a feature design, or does it also need to go with, I don't know, like some organizational changes of the users?
I think it's mostly the building the ecosystem, because again, coming back to what we started with, it's like, for example, I can tell you, like, we had a common workflow language or organization. Which is about a workflow language for scientists, mostly. And we worked with them, and they worked with them in the sense that they wanted to contribute to us a plugin to Airflow that was converting common workflow language to Airflow workflow. And we refused, because we think it should be maintained by them. Like, we don't know anything about common workflow language, but the whole idea is that the ecosystem, the people who are developing those kind of integration and ecosystem, they should develop it in the way that, like Airflow in our case, or any other workflow engine, provides an API, the way how you can write engines. But this API can be implemented by anyone, like anyone who like common workflow language. For in this case, they implement it and they maintain the plugin. They have a way how people who are developing common workflow language ways, which can be UI driven or whatever. It doesn't matter, ends up as a DAG in Airflow. And this is the best way, especially that we are not able to grow our maintainer base to support all the different cases. This is impossible. So we chose deliberately to build Airflow as a platform that makes it possible for others to write their own integrations and make their users aware, or like use. Basically, we don't want to change the way how users are working, but we want them to use Airflow. So somebody develops this glue between that, so that the users still build the workflows in the way they are used to, either SQL or common workflow language or whatever. But at the end, Airflow is the engine that runs it all. This is the dream, and this is the direction we are definitely heading into. So in terms of features, for example, it means that we are very much not accepting any new features or any new ideas that are coming. We are more open to have people develop them outside of Airflow and integrate with it, rather than bring more to Airflow because we think Airflow is already too big. We think how to cut down and remove stuff from Airflow rather than to add a new one, and make it just easier for others to integrate with us. This is the kind of changes that I see, and basically it means that the organization shouldn't change, Airflow shouldn't change, but those who are in between should work on ways to make those two work together. This is our kind of goal.
That's a very interesting perspective. That sounds like managing the ecosystem, like working, like interacting with the ecosystem can be much more complex than managing your own product roadmap.
Oh yes. This is an art, I would say, and then one that doesn't have a blueprint printed. It's something that is being like created right now as we speak.
Yeah, never threw a bullet. Let's go a little bit deeper into the what we have seen are the common, probably the two most common emerging challenges for workflow engines is more and more complex dependencies, because you have got like much more workflows, and the dependencies definitely got like so much more complex than what it was like probably 5 or 6 years ago. And also the sheer number of workflows also exploded. I believe you guys have both witnessed in your own ecosystem. So would you like to share like what challenges that you have seen, like these two trends like have been made on your Airflow and DolphinScheduler, and what you have done in the past several years to adapt to this, and what you see like the future is going? So many questions in one, but you got what I meant.
William, maybe you can start.
From Jarek or from me?
Start.
Really, okay, you start.
Okay. Actually, that's the situation we met, especially in China. There are millions of tasks that Chinese enterprise to handle the whole orchestration tools. For example, from China Unicom, they have almost millions of tasks that master control. So you can imagine that that's many complex dependencies and many workflow and the task. So I think both DolphinScheduler and Airflow can support sub process. That means there is a workflow, then you can use this workflow as another sub workflow in another workflow instance. And I think DolphinScheduler can handle it in another different way. That the DolphinScheduler have one task, we call it dependent. That means you can not only create your workflow as just like a function to use in another workflow, but also you can depends on other workflows, single task or single single sub workflow to do the dependencies. And then you can divide it, the whole DAG into many small DAGs, and you can make the dependencies very easily and freely to let them organize together. So I think it's very hard to use one DAG map to orchestrate all the jobs. So I think you must divide it into many small DAGs, small workflows, and then you can handle the complex dependencies. And also, I think there will be much challenge how to use the UI to describe the whole DAG. But our solution, DolphinScheduler's solution, is to divide the whole DAG into many small DAG, just like functions, and then you can to make the whole process run it correctly. so that's a solution for the DolphinScheduler. Yeah.
Interesting. Jarek, what have you seen in the Airflow community?
Very much. I think the growing complexity is and the growing size is definitely some size of DAGs and size of not only DAGs, because I don't think it's just DAG. The size of data processing workflows in general, our data processing pipelines is growing in complexity, and especially it's growing in complexity in terms of organizational challenges. So it's not only the like splitting the DAGs into smaller and making them interconnected. I think it's more of like how to enable multiple organizations within the organization or departments to work pretty much independently on their own and then bring the stuff together. Because this is the way how we think about scalability. It's just not put everything in single Airflow, for example, because that doesn't scale. Or it might scale, but it's a huge effort. It's much better to actually distribute stuff, as cut it into smaller pieces which are completely independent from each other. This is our thinking, and it goes in two different ways. And for us, this is a huge change that is coming for years. And I was leading like the part of it, or big parts of it, and now I'm leading actually two independent streams of what's happening in our case. One thing is like very technical, like splitting Airflow into multiple independent packages, which can be installed together with some dependencies. And this is like very technical about like very low level dependencies. So this has already happened in 2.0, but now we are heading into the place where those will be actually separated in the way that they will have even different repositories, most likely. And we are introducing the kind of mixed governance model, where, and again, coming back to this ecosystem contributing to Airflow, where on one hand, we will be able to keep control of it according to Apache Software Foundation and Apache Way. So releases and approvals, all goes through the same process as before, and committers can do that and all the stuff. But then the organizations which are interested in developing their part, they can have play bigger role in contributing stuff there. For example, releasing the backwards compatible version of providers. This is a change that we introduced like it took me 3 months to work out between all the different stakeholders what is the process we are going to follow. We have the process now, and we are implementing it right now. So for example, Google is just going to release an older version, or prepare for release the older version of their provider integration, because their customers want to have backwards compatibility. So they will work on that, and then we will release it as a Apache Software Foundation according to all the rules of ASF. Getting this mixed governance model was really difficult, but I think we are there, or we are very close to get it. But the second part, which is more important, is enabling and that combines the data lineage, which I mentioned before, with the multi-tenancy of Airflow. So basically, this is also the part that I'm working on, the multi-tenancy data lineage, that other people are working on that. A multi-tenancy is just being able for the organization to deploy many instances of Airflow, each of them independent for like different departments. But then data lineage on top of that will enable to connect those on the data layer, not on the workflow layer. Workflows will be independent, but the data sets produced can have the same kind of URLs, for example, to identify them. And when one is produced by one department and one Airflow, it might trigger a workflow in another instance, completely independent instance of Airflow. It will be like totally independent. And data lineage will bring it together. So our scalability efforts are going in exactly this direction, like making not Airflow bigger, but actually making it smaller, but many of them, and making them work together. So this is the kind of long term, maybe not that long actually. It's maybe like a few months, a year, maybe, where we will get to the point where this will be absolutely possible.
And that's very interesting. I noticed that many of our topics, I noticed that Jarek always tend to address the challenge or the issue from an ecosystem perspective. But I was wondering, how do you set the boundary between how do you set the boundary between yourself and Airflow versus your ecosystem? Like, what kind of challenges do you choose to solve it from Airflow's own like architecture or product level? Like, what you would like to leave it to for the ecosystem to solve it? I know it's probably not very cognitive, yes, and it's also off script. So It's like I'm just curious. I believe it's a very common question for many open source projects.
I think we are basically deferring to the wisdom of crowd in terms of We are following truly an Apache Software Foundation approach where no decisions are made outside of the dev list. So everything is public. All the discussions we have, even if we start them outside and, there is some discussion between people, we bring them to the dev list. If it didn't happen on the dev list, it didn't happen. So basically, it's mostly different people have different ideas, and we work out the consensus, what we are actually implementing, or what we should implement or not. Very good example. Recently, I started a discussion about the feature of SLA, service level agreements, which is part of Airflow. And should it be part of Airflow, or should it be external, something monitoring it? My point of view personally was that the SLA we have now is utterly broken. It doesn't work, it doesn't work in the way that people expect it to work. So we should deprecate it. And maybe even we shouldn't replace it with anything else. Maybe we should let community to develop some solutions on top of this. But many people who are much closer to the users than I am, they said, no, people expect that. This is why we think SLA should be there. And we had a very nice discussion, and we were not agreeing with each other. We were arguing with each other. But eventually, I think the vast majority of people is in the camp of let's just rewrite, let's make a better SLA feature in Airflow. And that came from the discussion, and I'm perfectly happy with that. Even if I thought initially that it's not the right way, but we just discussed, we convinced each other, and yeah, the arguments were really convincing. So this is really what we do. Community is the strength of the Airflow, and keeping the open discussions, the possibility of arguing, putting different arguments there. This is how we decide, and there is no. And the rule is, let's discuss, let's agree, let's get into consensus. And that's basically the rule. Yeah,
that's the Apache way.
That's the Apache way. It's definitely very Apache way. That's great. We are running out of time, so I have time for one last question, which the last question is always very high level and full of no the correct answer for that. What do you think is the future of data orchestration platform? Okay, it's a very big question, so let me try to break it down a little bit, just to give you a little bit a hint on where we can start. For example, we talk about workstream. There will be workflow engine within workflow engine, right? Then people might think, okay, that's workflow engine. The future will work more like a platform, in which all the ecosystem play that we have talked about, or maybe it's just yet another data application, right, inside the modern data stack. Or if we look even further, as we have seen more and more workflow engine emerging, will this be a winner takes all market, or are we going to see 5 or 10 years? 10 years is too long. Let's say 5-6 years from now, maybe we'll see three or five workflow engines are taking a very relatively equal share of the market. Let's start just freestyle. It's a big topic. It's a perfect topic to as the last topic of today. Really, what do you think? You're not alone. I have to ask you
about this question.
Okay. Yeah. So I think unlike the unbundling the discussion, orchestration is here to stay for long, and proliferation, distribution, and a number of different things that are that companies use, the number of different tools and data processing that companies use will only grow in complexity. It will not decrease. There is a dream of Snowflake, DBT, Databricks, and others. They have a dream. Let's bring everyone to us and let them do everything with us. This will not happen. I'm pretty sure of that. This will not happen. Everyone will use multiple different things and more than today. And there are different reasons for that. So orchestrations will be definitely needed. They will become more invisible, as I mentioned before. I think this is the trend that we want. People don't want to pay for orchestration. They don't want to, see that or spend time on doing that. The biggest benefit we can give to the organization as an orchestration is make them use less time on it. This is the kind of goal that we have, and this is going to happen. So I think the orchestration will be there, but will be mostly invisible. So it will be absolutely necessary, and this is difficult to market, of course, because it's something is invisible. You don't see that, and you don't know what you are actually using, which is a problem that we have to solve somehow. But that also opens up to different orchestration, not only one. There probably won't be like one winner takes it all, because that's quite impossible. There will be big players, a few big players, but I think what should happen, and this is something that we are very strongly promoting right now as well, is that it's not the orchestration itself that will be the same or people will use the same, but more the abstraction layer that will allow to use the orchestration information, metadata, and stuff to do the useful thing. The open lineage I mentioned before, this is an open API that anyone can implement for whether it's a Airflow or Dolphin Scheduler or whoever. And then very similar, like, open telemetry, for example. I love open telemetry. This is like solving a problem that we had many different ways how to put telemetry out and many applications. And open telemetry solves it in a nice way, providing this layer where we have many providers of telemetry information and many receivers, and they work together and they work the same way. And you can just build this layer in between. So I think this layer on top of orchestration will be there. And maybe and whoever implements those common layers, which will win, they will be the winners, because they will be used by anyone, and there will be more than that. I think more than one. So I think this is the future.
Yeah. I totally agree, Jarek. That I believe that there won't be only one snowflake in the world. There must be more and more data engines, just like the old days. There are Teradata, there are Greenplum, and also there will be more orchestration platform, just like old days. Informatica, Talent, DataStage, and many orchestration platform, and many data engines. And I think in the future, I think orchestration platform perhaps will be something just like a marketplace, because there will be many applications on the orchestration platform. For example, metadata management or linkage analysis or other data quality control or something. I think that will be a very interesting platform, because orchestration can gather all the metadata from a different system together to the orchestration platform. Then there must be many applications on the orchestration platform. So I believe there will be not only one company who control the whole orchestration platform, but many, just like an Apple Store, Android Store, so your Google Play. So there will be many players on the orchestration platform. And I think there are some trends on the orchestration platform that I think that must be more intelligent, more easy to use, and more people to use. So that's what I think about the orchestration trends. So that's for your question. Yeah.
That's great. It's always interesting to look into the future, especially during the time full of uncertainties. It's been 1 hour discussion. This has been amazing. I myself learned so much from your discussion. Before we close, are there any other comments or topics about workflow about orchestration engine that you would like to add before we close for today?
Jarek?
One thing, and maybe that's not only orchestration, but I heartily invite everyone to ApacheCon in North America, October 36. I'm actually chairing the data engineering track there together with Ismail from Apache Beam. And Dolphin Scheduler is also represented there. There is a talk about Dolphin Scheduler. This is a physical event, so you have to be in US. which might be a challenge. But there will be recordings and published, but generally this is the place where I think the open source data engineering discussions will be even more interesting, and especially those after hours, like the there is like birds of the feather, especially there is one like whiskey birds of the feather. Apparently this is like every year. It's been amazing online, but offline it might be even better. And I think most of the decisions, most of the discussions, most of the interesting things are happening on these after hours. That's why I'm looking forward to ApacheCon New North America definitely this year.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. Can't wait to get back to the crowd.
Yeah. You're also welcome to the ApacheCon Asia about the next week. I think it's online, and I think I will try to be American and to meet Jarek in US in October.
Absolutely. I would love to. I'd love to both of you. I mean, that would be great to meet in person.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. Okay, so this is our discussion, and thank you again for your time, and also thank you for the audience who have been staying online on different discussion with us, and hope you enjoy this warm-up roundtable and also enjoy the rest of the ApacheCon.
Thank you. Thank you, and good luck.
Thank you, Monica, and thank you, Jarek. So that's all about the online meeting. So bye-bye, and hope to see you offline in US, Jarek, if I can go to US.
I'm working on my visa.
Yeah, Monica, you can go with me to the ApacheCon in October.
I would love to. I would love to. I miss the physical conference so much.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I'm looking forward to it a lot. And especially that it's in New Orleans. So like, I don't know about you, but I have some, what New Orleans is the amazing place.
You will love the food there. You will love the food there. As long as you don't go there during the summer, it will be awesome. Where are you based? Jarek?
I'm in Poland, in Warsaw. So in the middle of Europe. But I miss coming to US. I used to come there like 2-3 times a year before the pandemics, and that's like 3 years. I have not seen my friends there. I have lots of friends there, so I'm looking forward to coming there. I am actually going there, even like stay like 2 weeks after for vacations and see stuff there. I hope if pandemics doesn't go back, because that happens.
So Omicron is very serious in Poland, or is just
not yet. Not yet. It's growing. It's getting worse again and earlier than last year, but I don't think it's that bad. And almost everyone is vaccinated. A lot of people are. I'm vaccinated 3 times, and I hope 4th time will be there as well. So yeah, let's see how it goes. But right now, it's just a little bit growing. The Ukraine war was much bigger concern for many months, and still is actually, because this is going on and will go on. So difficult times.
Yeah,
I know. Difficult times. Take care, both of you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Monica, and thank you for Jarek. So that's all for
today.
Thank you
for that.
Thank you guys.
That was a great
great
discussion.
Thank you for joining Roundtable. Bye.